And we're back here once again with another episode of the MSK show, and this is going to be episode 170. And in this episode of the MSK show, I am going to be having a conversation with ComixDad. This is going to be his first appearance on the show. We met through Twitter, and then we set up a day to have a one-on-one on the MSK show, and that day is today. And it turns out he has a black dad. Unlike me, my dad was white, as you guys know, because I am a white black man. But how you going? How was your day, man? How are you doing?
You just told me something about my family history I didn't even know. So good on me, I guess, right?
now you can join the black community since you have a black dad.
I got my card. I'm good. Let's go. But no, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just hanging out. I work a normal 9 to 5, so got out of that, had dinner with the family, finally sitting down, relaxing, and I'm excited to do this with you, man. But as I was telling you before, although I'm appearing here, everybody knows me as this picture that you see up on your screen.
So you're not a animated DreamWorks character,
actually? I wish I was, because he actually kind of looks a little more jacked than I am in real life. So, but we got this. Hey, I have a pow on my face.
you do the same thing that No Green Rocks does. You wear the mask up to your nose so it conceals your face, because you probably have a government job that you don't want people to know that you have.
No government job, but I do have a corporate job. So people in my streams have been asking when I'd eventually go on camera and stuff. So this was like I figured a nice compromise.
Okay. No problem, man. So before we go over a lot of the things I want to ask you, because
for sure,
this is your first time, and if you ever come on for a second and third appearances, later on as people kind of grow and there's different life experiences, so you have a different outlook on a lot of stuff, we're going to just start it off right here. Origin stories, as I always do with these. How was your life growing up, actually, from when you were born all the way to like high school? And did you go? I don't know if you went to college, but if you did go to college, you can say that too.
Yeah, I mean, I was I grew up a pretty normal kid in a pretty normal family in a pretty normal town in a pretty normal place.
Which state is this?
Pretty boring. Originally, I'm from New Jersey. Don't live there anymore now, but originally grew up New Jersey, born and bred. I don't have the Jersey accent or anything like that. So Jersey Shore I will always say, was the worst thing that ever happened to New Jersey besides Phil Murphy and Chris Christie. So.
Or you do have the South Park episode where apparently if you're from Jersey, you just kind of like self-interview yourself randomly when talking to people.
Yeah, well, and again, but that all came from Jersey Shore. It was the Jersey Shore episode of South Park. So
yeah,
again, that was one of the top 3 worst things to happen to New Jersey, was that damn show.
So what happened after that? You eventually grew up and you got married. I know that you're married, aren't you? Okay.
Yes, sir. Yep. I got Mrs. Comics. She's actually hanging out over here in the background behind me, or off camera behind me here. But yep, Mrs. Comics and I, we've been going strong for going on 6 years now.
You got married in 2019. Okay, that's cool.
Yes, sir. Yes,
almost a decade at this point. Holy crap!
You don't tell her. Don't tell her that we both are starting to feel older than we are to begin with. So don't tell her that it's closer to a decade than it was year one.
Good gosh. So, if you guys don't know, we were supposed to do this, I think, a few weeks ago, but your wife ended up getting injured and had to be at the hospital. So that's why we had to delay it up until today. So I hope she is doing okay, actually.
She is doing, all things considered, she's doing a lot better. She actually, at the beginning of the year, she had a surgery. And then she was originally supposed to be on bed rest for about a month. And then a few weeks into her recovery, there was a slight, not a major thing, but a slight complication. So she went back to the hospital. They took care of it. And then they put her on some medicines, and then the medicines were causing issues. So now the surgical part, she's pretty much fully healed from, but now we're dealing with the medicine stuff. But all things considered, she's doing a lot better now. She's going back to work next week. She's excited. So she's tired of just sitting around not doing anything for 2 months.
Yeah, because like it reminds me of the time period we were in that lockdown period where people got so bored just of being at home every day. Yeah, because at work you fantasize about, man, it'd be so good if I just at home all day and just doing all this. But it was like, when you kind of got a taste of it for like a month, you're like, oh, this is kind of boring. people kind of, in my opinion, naturally want to go out and do some stuff. Like go to a movie, go to a bar, go to Walmart, something. Imagine just in that time period where we just had to be at home all the time. It was like, holy fuck, this is hell.
Oh yeah, it was rough, especially with us having kids and everything, and where we were living at the time. It was we were in a pretty small apartment, so because we got two kids. Our younger one was actually born just a couple of months before the lockdown happened. So we had a newborn plus our older one, and the older one was going stir crazy. But I was fortunate enough that I was able to start working from home. Mrs. Comics wasn't so lucky, but in hindsight, it was very bittersweet that it all happened the way it did, because I got to experience something that not a lot of parents get to experience, especially nowadays. I got to see my little one go from being practically a newborn all the way up until I was working from home until fall
he
of
should be like 5 years
23.
old now. He's 5 right now? He should be, or 4.
Yeah. She's 5.
She's 5. Okay.
Yep.
So
But yeah, I was working remotely for a couple different jobs from 2020 all the way up until fall of 23. So I got the first almost 4 years of being able to see her grow it up, even going to daycare. But we didn't keep her in for a whole day because I was home. So I just need to get work done. That was it.
So you have a girl and a boy, right?
I'm a girl dad through and through. I got my 2 girls in the other room sleeping.
So who is the more like energetic one out of the 2? The first or the second one?
Oh, they're both, man. They're girls. They both run me up the wall. I love them, but they run me up the wall. But I'm teaching them right. One of them is a big Sonic the Hedgehog and Kirby fan, and the other one the other one's a big Spider-Man fan. So I'm doing it right.
So they're like toddlers now, but so are you getting them into like comics, or are you getting them to like watch some of the stuff that you grew up with, like Spider-Man animated series or stuff like that?
Oh yeah, definitely more the watching stuff, because the younger one not ready to read just yet, but like we've found some stuff that just for like bedtime reading and stuff. Like she has a couple Spider-Man books that we'll read to her and other stuff. Our other one, she's not a big reader, but she likes watching some of the shows that like we grew up watching. They actually like Dragon Ball, so I was really excited and happy when I put that on for the first time, and they loved it.
So people know you from your name, ComixDad, because crazy enough, you read comics. So
yes, sir.
The first comic you had growing up then?
First comic I had, I can't remember exactly what specific title it was, but it was a Spider-Man book. And that's kind of what did everything for me. And even then, I didn't even have my first comic book until I was probably about maybe 9 years old or so, 8 or 9 years old. So being a 90s kid, my first exposure to Spider-Man was, of course, the animated series. And then from there, I walked into a comic shop a couple of years later with one of my parents, and of course, I grabbed a Spider-Man book. And the comic book reading never took off, like in a way where it's like Gary from Neurotic, where I'm a living comic book encyclopedia or something like that. But over the years, I would come in and out and pick up some books and read them and whatnot. As I was maybe I considered myself maybe like a couple steps above a casual comic book reader, but they always had some kind of place in my life. So I've loved them. I love the artwork. I love some of the stories that I've read over the years. But it was just, it was hard to kind of not prioritize, but juggle all the different interests that I had. Because it's like, man, we were teenagers. We wanted to go hang out with our friends. We wanted to play video games because it was the 360 era at that point. Greatest gaming era of all time. All sorts of different stuff going on, and then extracurriculars and parents taking you places because you weren't old enough to drive or stay home or whatever. But a few years back, I had been out of comic books for a while, and when the missus and I bought our house, we ended up going on a date night to just a comic shop on a whim, and I came across
a date night.
That was a date night.
Shop.
Hell
That's
yeah,
crazy.
man!
I've never heard of that in my life. You're like,
it was
hey,
dinner
girl,
and then a comic book shop.
That's crazy.
Yep. But so we ended up just looking up and found one a couple towns over from where we are. So we went in there, and we were there for like a good hour and a half, 2 hours, checking stuff out. Picked up a couple of back issues of stuff, and I also even picked up a couple of new things off the shelf from Image and Boom and whatnot. And that kind of just that kind of got me back into comic books again. And ever since, I've been picking up books on a monthly occasion, or at least every couple of months, as I'm going through and picking up new titles or reading stuff that I had read before, wanted to get caught up on. And Mrs. Comics has been there with me. She doesn't read as much of stuff as I do because she's very specific in her tastes for comic books, but she's in it with me, and that's kind of, if I didn't go with her to that comic shop, I don't think I would have jumped back into comics as hard as I have, because it was special, because it was a date night. It was with Mrs. Comics herself.
So for her, is she just more into like the whole romance novel thing?
No, not really. I mean, there's a couple of those kind of books that she likes, but she is like a supernatural monsters type of stuff.
Okay,
so
yeah.
She likes scary mystery, ghosts, all that stuff. She actually has almost the complete run of the first volume of the Tomb of Dracula by Marvel from the 70s.
Also, fun fact, that's the first appearance of Blade. Blade first appearance in those as well.
That is one of the only, 2 books now? Two. That is one of the only 2 books she's missing from that run. She is missing the holy grails of that first run, issue 1 and issue 10. That's it.
What's crazy is when people think of Blade, I tell people this. Wesley Snipes did something with Blade where he's the only person you think about when it comes to Blade. And when he said that in Deadpool Wolverine, there'll only be one Blade. I'm not, you got a point there. He's only the only Blade. Even for the comics,
It was so, because since you brought up Deadpool and Wolverine, as much as I love Deadpool, as much as everybody loved Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I was definitely on the fence about watching it. But once I found out that Wesley Snipes was coming back as Blade, I was like, all right, done deal, sold. I got to check it out just for, the OG Blade himself. So it's just, I think it'd be cool if maybe they had him come back again one day, though. Like maybe if they did another Werewolf by Night kind of thing, and they had him come back kind of as that 70s style Blade. I think that would be awesome.
That's what they should do. Like recently coming up, I don't know if you heard the news that the guy who played Punisher in the Daredevil series, I forgot his name, John Bernthal, right?
Yep. Yeah.
He is going to be doing the Marvel presentation. So if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically what they did with World by Night. It's just an hour-long special for an underrated character to kind of just put them in the spotlight. Punisher's always not underrated, but the thing why that format is better is because now you're not sitting there watching a 6-episode miniseries with a bunch of filler episodes, and you only really needed to watch like episodes, the first one and the last one. I feel like moving forward, if it's not Daredevil, a character that can basically sustain an ongoing series or maybe 2-3 seasons, you should just do them like that. Why? Like literally, you could have condensed all of these shows into hour-long specials, and I feel like the reception around them would have been a lot better, honestly. Imagine if WandaVision was just an hour-long special, Falcon and Winter Soldier hour-long special. Yeah, they might not be as good still, but it wouldn't feel like it was such a drag to watch them week to week to week. I really found their format with the World by Night one the best one. Hour, 10 minutes max, or 5 minutes. You don't need to have a show out of all of these. Like
honestly, instead of a show,
deserve to have 5 episodes. It's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, instead of a show, I feel like even if they did it as like a 2-part thing, where it's basically like 2 made-for-TV kind of movies type of deal, I think even that would have been great. But yeah, the Werewolf by Night that we got was awesome, though. I love that, and yeah, but they were trying to promote Disney Plus and get people to sign up for it and everything, and it's a thing that people have been talking about for years now. At this point, they're now creating content specifically just to try to pull people into this thing that they've created that does nothing but just bleed them dry of their own money. And that's why they just keep doing series after series after series. If it wasn't the case, if Disney Plus actually was profitable for them, they probably would have done more stuff like the special features like Werewolf by Night and like this upcoming Punisher one. But unfortunately, that's not how it went, because as we all know, people running Marvel nowadays just don't really know what the hell they're doing.
God Lord, man. Like, just from everything that's been happening as far as like comic book wise, I told people this, when it comes to comic books like the Rippaverse, where Eric July doing his own thing, the reason why I like Eric July doing his own thing is just that gives me just more comic books to buy, more comic books to talk about, more another universe to just get invested into and just have some fun with some people. I'll always say what I don't and don't like about the universe. I'm not trying to get like special perks or fucking some inside information. I've just wanted more comic books to buy, and that's another avenue to just purchase them. Honestly, you know.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. I mean, speaking of which, I got right here, I got in the mail today,
With the
my
black and white edition.
yeah, my black and white edition of Bloodruth. I peered through it. I haven't read it yet, but I peered through it. The art is fantastic, and
Mhm.
I can't wait to read it. And the black and white just, oh man, especially with stuff kind of like this where you're dealing with either like some suspense and some like kind of horror and supernatural type
Mhm.
of stuff. Also, there's actually another book that you may have seen me highlight on either over on my YouTube channel or
I think you
also
read
on
Ghost
X.
Rider recently. I think.
I read Ghost Rider on my channel recently. And we could talk about the stuff I do on my channel in a minute, but just since we're
Fine.
talking about black and white and grayscale, there is this book right here that I've mentioned both on my channel and on my X account called Black Phantom by Chad Townsend. It is a really cool, really fun read, and it's got a little splash of color in there, but it takes place in 1940s World War II over in Europe, and it's like 95% black and white and grayscale. And I really love when books do that, especially to fit the time period or to fit the mood or the theme of the story they're telling. So that's why I'm excited to dive into this over here, especially with it being black and white.
So when was wait you actually have you bought all the Rippaverse comic books so far from everything from Item up to this one, or are you
I
pick
don't
and
have
choose?
I don't have all of them. I do have some. I have ISOM 1, ISOM 2, Horseman, got Bloodruth over here. I do have others on the way though. Like I'm waiting for
Okay.
Yaira 1 to come in because Yaira 1, I'm getting that along with Yaira 2 at the same time.
Okay.
And then the Ripazines I'm waiting for to come in because Ripazine 3 looks really cool
Mhm.
with what Caro Brown did in that Ripazine 3 that they're coming out with. So I don't have it all, but from what I did read, I initially just picked up ISOM 1, and it
Yeah.
was really cool. I enjoyed it. It was different. There
Mhm.
weren't, I'm not gonna say it was a perfect book, but there were definitely things about it that I liked. And there wasn't anything I necessarily disliked. It just there were some things that, okay, well, you'll have this in any story. It's just kind of getting us through to the
Mhm.
next big climactic part of the book. But overall, I really enjoyed it and I was intrigued, and I liked the story that Eric July was trying to tell. So I figured, all right, I got this. So let me go get ISOM too. Oh, Horseman, this is coming out. This looks really badass. Let me get that.
Mhm.
Alpha Core is going to be coming when the War of Separation comes. I have them two ordered together. So
Okay.
I'm not fully caught up on Rippaverse, but by the end of the year, I definitely will be.
So I just wanted to highlight in that cover you have that guy has his hands all over Bloodroot. Just point out, it's like he loves his
Oh yeah,
chocolate. Just point it out.
yeah, right there.
Gosh, crazy man. Yeah,
Yeah.
no black girls for me. I'm more of a white chocolate kind of man.
I got mixed chocolate. Mrs. Comics is half Puerto Rican, so
God, man. So the Sasuke sisters, have you met them in real life?
I haven't met them. I haven't met anybody in real life. I
Oh,
pretty
okay,
much I stick to my home because I just over the last 4 or 5 years we've learned how crazy people can be.
that's true. That's
and
very true.
secondly, I don't have the money to travel. I got kids. I got bills. It's kind of like what's his name, Heath. Heath, not Heath, the dude from WWE, like almost a decade ago, where he'd come out and be like, "I have kids," like some redneck dude. But so I like to say that it's between just not really being a huge fan of what I've seen out of people over the last few years, and I got kids, so I'm broke.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't get to really go and do much travel into like
You
the
never been to any of the
big
meetups or
conventions and
anything?
stuff. No,
Okay.
I want to. That is a goal that we would like to do this year, just even as a family.
Yeah,
Because Mrs. Comics and we've both been getting more involved in chats on various streams and stuff like that. Like we've
yeah.
talked to other people that because I don't know how big or heavily involved in watching like any of the Geeks and Gamers streams and stuff like that, and Rippaverse streams and stuff that you are. But we watch a pretty decent number of those. I got into them about maybe 6-8 months ago, and I've gotten to know some of the people in the chats, and so is Mrs. Comics, and they're great people. And so we would love to be able to go to one of the meetups at some point just to meet these people we've been
Yeah, I
talking
went
to.
to two of them last year. I went to the G&G F&T Las Vegas one because I'm actually
Okay.
literally an hour and 30 away from Vegas.
Oh
And
wow.
I went to the Gabe El Taib San Diego one, which was only just like for like maybe like 4 or 5 hours, honestly, for his birthday last year when it was around Comic-Con time. I'm going back this year for the next meetup because Jen and Sylvie said they were going to be there this year, and a few other people that didn't come last year are going to be there too. So hope this one's probably going to be a lot more of a banger. Last one was fun. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy going out to Vegas. I just know I could. It's always a fever dream when you're in a place that you know you can never live because of just how much different it is. I'm a guy that likes the quiet life. You know, I'm not a guy that wants something like Vegas. Vegas is very different. If you go from like, you know how you said you had a small town, small city, kind of boring feel to it. That's what my city is. It's small town, boring, it has its fair share of problems, but it's got that small, boring feeling to it. I like the small, boring feeling. I like the quiet, you know?
For sure. As long as I have things within a 15-minute drive of me, I'm okay. Like because there's, if you go about maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes in any direction of where we are, you got farmland around you. And I wouldn't be able to do that. But we're close enough to an actual city where we've got enough of everything, whether it's restaurant, shop, and just something to go do. But then we're also far enough away from that we don't have to deal with the regular stuff that people deal with that live in cities or that deal with regular city life on a daily basis. So, but
Wait,
yeah,
so
to kind of bring it back around though, no, I
yeah.
haven't met anybody. I haven't gone to any of the meetups or anything yet. Yet is the key word. We're working on it as a family. We're trying to actually see if maybe we could go to Dallas this year if they do one in Dallas. It'll be a long drive. we don't fly. We'll drive instead. So we're gonna try and make it work.
You had said that when you drive out a little bit away from town for like 15, 20 minutes away, you see like farms and shit. You guys have any like zoos out there where you live? Little farms that you could take them to sometimes to see animals?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, for sure. Especially because one of our kids absolutely loves cows. She loses her mind over it. So there are plenty of dairy farms within an hour of us. There's one that they make their own ice cream on the property and everything. So and they have a whole
pretty good.
Oh yeah, man. And they have like a whole row of little pens or stables that they put the baby calves in that you can go up to them and pet them and interact with them. So the kids love going and doing that. But there's also like a privately owned zoo like in the mountains near where we live. But the property is huge, so they have animals from all sorts of different parts of the world, and the place has been around for I think like 100 years. So there's enough stuff to do. You just gotta kind of look. And so that's kind of the one thing I would say to anybody that goes from moving to city life to kind of like on that verge of suburban to rural life.
Yeah.
There are things to do, but you gotta know what you're looking for. You can't just go, oh, well, I need something to do this weekend. You at least got to have an idea. Be like, oh, it would be cool to go to a zoo this weekend, or oh, it'd be cool to go find a music festival going on this weekend or something. And then you look it up and you can probably find something within maybe an hour and a half of where you are, depending upon where you live in the country. You just got to look though. That's the key thing. And I learned that the hard way.
And it's crazy because like one of my friends took me out to a house here in town to talk to some people, and they had this little farm. It's a little like, I don't say farm. It's weird. More like an animal fest there. They had a horse, chickens, and some goats. Goats are very interesting animals. Literally, one of the ones headbutted the other one out of the way to look at me. I was like, "You're an asshole." Goats are assholes. Just pointing out.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, there is this one creator that I've met and gotten to know a little bit. Her name is the Eclectic Goat, and she has a bunch of goats and other animals where she lives, she raises and all that. She keeps trying to talk Mrs. Comics into bringing a goat home with her if we ever end up in that area of the country that she lives in one day. I'm like, no, we have enough animals here. We don't have a lot, but we got enough. And we don't have a fence. I'm not letting a goat or a pig live in the house. Hell no.
You have dogs and cats. Anything else besides that? You have chickens?
No. Oh no.
Okay.
Nothing crazy like that. Like I said, we live more of a suburban life. Like we don't. It's not like we go outside and there's farmland right next to us. We gotta go down the highway a little bit.
Yeah.
But we also have a bearded dragon and we have or Mrs. Comics has a jumping spider. And I say
The
Mrs.
jumping
Comics,
spider.
yes, I say
Oh
Mrs.
my god.
Comics because if it were up to me, that thing would be flatter than a pancake being sat on by the juggernaut. I'm telling you.
Good
Anything with
lord.
more than 4 legs, I don't do, man. I have told her I ever see it get out, I may very well burn down this house that we worked hard to get. That is ever since I saw the movie Eight-Legged Freaks as a kid. You remember with David Arquette back in the day?
Yeah.
Ever since I saw that movie, I said, hell no to spiders. They all need to just burn. Regardless, big, small, radioactive, giant freaks, or just the size of like not even my thumbnail. I don't care. Burn them all.
How did you ever start doing YouTube? Were you inspired by someone, or you just kind of always wanted to start talking on the internet in a microphone?
It's funny that you say that. In terms of actually doing what I'm doing on YouTube, that just kind of spontaneously came up in the last, what are we going into, March? So in like probably the beginning of December, I was playing around with the idea initially of just this past year. So I launched the channel, I want to say either just before or just after Christmas of this past year. But I had the idea in my head for maybe only about 3 or 4 weeks before that, and that was it. And that idea came from really watching like primarily Drunk 3PO, J Drunk 3PO, watching what he does on his morning stream that he has, Welcome to the Rebellion podcast. And then also just watching some of the other guys that I kind of I guess Drunk 3PO is definitely part of the inspiration, but I guess I got to kick it back to who I initially was watching that kind of was the gateway into Drunk 3PO and Geeks and Gamers and X-Wing and Nerdrotic and Beardo and all these other guys on YouTube, which was WDW Pro and the folks over at that park place, because I was doing a lot of Disney research because we were taking the family on our very first Disney trip about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And so we were more looking like Disney parks and stuff like that. And so Pro and them, they cover park news, they cover all sorts of Disney stuff and other entertainment and media as well. But at the time, because they were still like under 50,000 subs, they were really heavy into the Disney stuff because that's when a lot of the Disney controversy was still going on. So I got into them and I was watching them for a while. And then it was just kind of like a gateway from there. But I didn't really have my aha moment of, you know what, I kind of want to create content too, until I was watching just J Drunk 3PO and what he's doing, especially with his book Achromatic Chronicles Green and talking about blue. And then also just his regular morning show. He does it's more of like a I guess a political current events talking show in the mornings, but he'll take time in the mornings and it diverges. He'll talk about other stuff too. Kind of like what we're doing here. We're getting sidetracked and talking about different stuff already in the 30 minutes we've been doing it. But that was kind of like my aha moment. Like, you know what? It'd be really cool to just get on YouTube, not even trying to make money doing it, just to, because I have my newly or renewed love of comic books over the last few years, and comic books are, I'm not going to say a dying industry, but they're definitely not nearly as popular as they were even 15 years ago. And even then, they weren't even all that popular, unfortunately. So I figured this is just...
It all just caps out. And a lot of people have to understand the reason why the companies pivoted to doing animated movies, live action, TV shows and movies, and animated movies is because that has a bigger reach than comics. It's like very similar to like novels too. Novels have it, but in a different way. Like a novel will get an adaptation and people will see it's based on a book and go, oh, I want to read the books now. But the books, even like with comic books, always have that cap at them. Like how many people have watched the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies, but they've never actually read the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit books, actually? Probably a lot of people. Just watched the movies. I've only just watched the movies, but those are really great movies. Well, the first trilogy, Hobbit movies are yikes.
Yeah. I will say the Hobbit movies, they grew on me over time. At first, I was not a big fan, and even then, I'm not saying they're the greatest thing, because obviously Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, leaps and bounds better than the Hobbit trilogy.
Mhm.
But as I went back, and every couple of years I go back and watch it, and every time I watch it, I come back with a little more of an understanding and a little bit of a newfound respect for that trilogy. So it's not a big yikes in my mind, but I understand where you come from, because I was there at one point with it.
I remember just some years ago, we watched the final one in the theaters. It was a packed crowd. Like, I remember seeing my movie theaters go from basically packed crowds on the weekends or opening Thursday nights to just basically maybe less than 5 people coming to the movie theater out here. Because like a lot of the people out here want to go to the one out of town because it's just better and it's a more lively experience here. But we had a lively experience here at the movie theaters. We did on the weekends or like the Thursdays. Like I remember before the virus came through, it was the time of the year where we had we had Fantasy Island, the movie with Lucy Hale and shit. And then we had Sonic the Hedgehog came out, and it was Birds of Prey. And I remember just going on Valentine's Day, and this bunch of people were there. It was like an event. People wanted to go to the theaters out here. And now, basically, it's just been, I would say, it's just dying out, honestly. It's just getting less and less people. The last movie that I saw had an actual, maybe packed audience was probably somewhere in 2023. Like Scream 6 had a pretty big audience when I went there. People just love Scream. 2024, the only movie that I saw had a decent sized audience was like Deadpool Wolverine, that had like 13 people in there. You know, Thor Love and Thunder had a crowd in there. Doctor Strange 2 had a crowd in there. I've been seeing just the people in my area get kind of tired of the MCU movies being not as good as they once used to be. And just interest is just fading. And this is what I tell people all the time is like, a lot of people go, well, if the superhero movies are good, then I would not get tired of them. But a lot of people are only like one thought thinkers, and their brains just can't expand past one thought. It's not just about creating bad superhero movies consistently, because those will obviously happen. You will always have bad movies in any franchise, film series, genre, anything. But if you create them constantly, if there's constant bad movies, people will check out. It's something that's happened with DC. Why would it not happen to Marvel? And a lot of people and a lot of people, this is their only franchise. This is like one of their first genres. They don't understand the genre lingo. They don't know that genres have highs and lows, because they've only been here for like the highs of it for the most part.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So now they're thinking like, well, it's not superhero movie fatigue. Well, how about this? I'll tell you this. Do you go and watch the movies opening weekend like you used to? They go, no, I wait. There you go. You are tired of them. You might be tired of loving them, but you don't have that same love and affinity for it like you did originally.
I will put a little bit of caveat on this, because you're like 90% of the way there and correct. You're almost there, at least in my mind. You're almost there. The two caveats I do put on that are 2020 kind of ruined movie theaters for a lot of people. I know I haven't stepped foot in a movie theater since.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
I think late 21, early 22 was the last time I stepped in a movie theater, and before that, I hadn't stepped in a movie theater since Avengers Endgame, and that was last time. That was so only 2 times since Endgame I had been in a movie theater, and that was it.
Another example for a lot of other franchises, like let's say horror movies. A lot of people like horror movies. There's people that will legitimately check out of a horror franchise if they constantly get bad movies. You constantly have bad remakes, constant bad sequels. I just don't know why people don't apply that same level of knowledge and thinking to superheroes. It's the same way. Also, as you said, when you got older, you got a job, you have some kids, you have a wife now, there's more responsibilities. So going out of the way to see the movies is harder now.
And the movies got more expensive.
Yeah.
It's not just life got more expensive, the theaters themselves got more expensive. And that was also a big part of the problem.
Yeah, and then people don't understand, when you're younger, you just have less responsibility. So yeah, you can kind of freely go to a movie theater, ask your parents for some money, they give it to you, go. You have nothing else going on. When you get older, life changes. We said before, families, work, bills, gotta get the kids up for school in the morning, all that other bullshit. It takes
on top of that,
life.
For sure. And on top of that, I'm also not going to shell out $25-$30 to go see a movie that's questionably going to be a steamy big pile of garbage.
Also, if it's going to come out on a streaming service in less than 3 weeks.
Exactly. Either that, or honestly, I'm at the point where for like the non-Marvel and Disney related stuff, like I'll take a chance and just wait for it to come out on physical instead. Because I may be paying $20, but at least I'll have paid that $20 taking a chance on, if I like it, then I have it. As opposed to taking that chance, paying $20, and then if I like it, I think I have to go pay at least another $30 to own it.
And
that's just kind of my mentality when it comes to movies nowadays.
And I understand people's argument of like, well, if they had just keep making good stuff, even that right there has a nail right there in that kind of logic of thinking. I don't think there's ever been a lot of franchises that I can name off my freaking fingers how many that have constantly made a good piece of entertainment movie after movie after movie. It's actually a very rare thing. There's a reason why certain trilogies that made good movie each time are celebrated, like Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Toy Story's first 3 movies are very, very good.
Oh yeah.
Just as examples, like you're not always going to get something good. I think the average person doesn't understand. Most movies you watch are going to be pretty on a scale of like, we're using adjectives, okay to good. You're not always going to get something great, a masterpiece. Yeah. You're mostly going to get something from like trash to okay,
and this comes also a lot from now we're at a point where I can't even say Hollywood anymore because movies are made all over the world, not just in Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
But it's that the movie industry itself, cinema, at least on the large scale, on the big budget films, there's not an original idea anymore either. It's whether either it's sequels or it's just tropes that have been played to death, but they're not finding a new take on it. And they're just instead going back to the well and say, well, this worked before for this franchise. Let's just take it and throw a new name on it and just color it a different color. And
this is where the audience is. I feel like they on Twitter will do the same things they criticize the movie studios of, which is lying. Like an audience on Twitter will go like, well, we want original ideas and all the stuff you said. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying this is what the common sentiment that I read, right? And I read all the threads. People say, you gotta start reading all the threads and go only by the most liked comment. Well, I do believe that just because someone has the most liked comment doesn't mean they're telling the truth. People just gravitate to a comment that they feel like best represents what they were thinking in their head. Because people will say, well, I want more original this, I want this and that. But they don't go and watch those movies. Those movies bomb quite consistently at the box office. All those movies that are not like superhero movies or movies that aren't remakes or sequels, they don't do as well. So you have people that are lying about an interest that they want. The studio gives it to them. They don't support it. Now the studio goes, well, I can't invest in that anymore because at the end of the day, they only care about money. That bombs. They're already out of millions of dollars because these people that act in the movie got to get paid up front before you even make the movie itself. So we're at this point where you even have like stats that come up. Like last year, the highest grossing movies were all sequels. All of them. Outside of like one movie. And people go, but I don't watch sequels. That's not what the numbers say. The numbers don't lie,
And I feel like we get into almost like the infinite staircase or like a paradox at that point. because people are going to see the sequels of all these different franchises because there's nothing they're familiar with it and there's nothing that's new and original. Then they want new and original because they're tired of the sequels, but then they go and see the sequels because there's nothing new and original. It just round and round we go.
Original stuff they don't watch because for some reason, to be fair, that's what a lot of people do in their life. They just kind of say the thing that sounds nice to say because it's this concept of like, and I know you know what it is. It's called going with the wind. You're only kind of just doing it because everyone else is doing it. And it's saying, if you just want them to make better sequels in the franchises you love, just say that. Don't lie to me and say you want some original shit and you don't watch it. They'll be like, oh, I couldn't watch it, man. My wife slept with my brother. I came in on them. I saw his dick and we had to get divorced and I have no money. It's like, dude. But then when a Marvel movie comes out, like an MCU movie, don't watch it. Brave New World. Yeah, I sure watched that opening weekend. You lying sack of shit. These people are just talking just to talk. It is literally empty words these people are saying to me. Now, do I agree that some people want original stuff? I do too. I do. But they can't make it constantly because people don't support it. They don't actively reach in their wallets and support it. It's just not something people do,
And the other thing about original content, original stories, original ideas, I learned this a long time ago. We're at a point in history, in our culture, at least in Western culture as a society, that 99 times out of 100, you're not going to have an original idea. There is almost no such thing as an original idea anymore. It's more about, can you take a pre-existing trope or idea and put your own spin on it, put your own twist on it? Can you dress it up enough and make it compelling enough in a different way that either A, it comes off as an original idea, or B, it at least compels people to think about it and go, oh, you know what? I never thought about that story from that perspective. That's really cool. I would want to check that out. So I don't even necessarily want new and original ideas. I'll take recycled ideas, but at least do something creative and different with it. And that I would be perfectly okay with, but we don't even get that anymore for the most part.
Yeah, even when you do get sequels into some like legacy franchises, like Halloween, for example, Halloween's last two movies, Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, are just straight up actually just god awful garbage. You know, they completely just shit on the idea of what Halloween is. You know, it's bad storytelling, disjointed narratives. The villains are just all out of whack now. Like, it's not even the fact that movies themselves are all bad from a just they exist point of view. The storytelling isn't good. The acting itself has gotten much less believable in the recent years with a lot of actors and actresses. The writing quality is, well, vastly dipped. Like, we're talking like things where they set up shit and then later on in the movie they completely make it so you didn't even give a fuck about what they wrote because they contradicted it themselves. Like, I remember in a recent MCU movie, or we'll use Scarlet Witch, for example. Scarlet Witch, she's a villain because she enslaved people against their own free will. And then Photon in the same series said, they will never know what you gave up for them. Who wrote that?
Self-insertion. That's what it all boils down to, especially in Marvel over the last few years, both in comics and in the entertainment stuff, the Marvel Studio stuff. It's all about self-insertion. That, oh, well, maybe this one particular writer or editor had done X, Y, and Z things that were really bad, but deep down inside, they at least personally feel like their actions were justified because they had sacrificed something to do the bad things that they had did for whatever weird justified reason they was. And it could be something stupid, just like in terms of alienating your friends and your family over I don't know who you voted for in a popularity contest, or just to kind of make it a little more grounded in reality in terms of an example. And then you go and write a story about that. And even though you are the bad guy, like you start writing the story, but then at some point you get to the point where you even realize, oh shit, pardon the language, I don't know what you allow on your channel or not. Ah, cool then. You're like, oh shit, I actually am the bad guy in this. So you know what? Let me write a new ending for it that hopefully people will sympathize with why I did the weird twisted shit that I did. And in a nutshell, that's kind of what's been happening at the same time, especially with that Scarlet Witch series. I enjoyed it for the most part, but it's especially the whole thing with the kids not being real and all that. And then she ended up sacrificing them because they weren't real to begin with. And just, well, and even then you could take that and you could look at Amazing Spider-Man by Zeb Wells with that soy boy top knot man bun wearing asshole Paul.
Don't remind me of that. Oh my god! Like, to be fair, I only read the first trade. I read the first 5-6 issues, I think, of that run. It's just the way he treats Peter. Like, Spider-Man is still good. Spider-Man still is going out saving people. He's still doing his thing. But it's just the Peter stuff is so unbelievable. Like, Peter himself just doesn't feel like Peter. He's treating people like shit. He's distancing himself. He's calling a woman that's married, that's moved on with her life, that has 2 kids. Then Zeb Wells uses Paul because that's his cuck fetish. That's the person that he envisions himself when his wife's getting banged out by a Tyrone.
So, or Destiny.
I don't know. I was thinking about it yesterday. Now you bring it up. I've never read a comic book that I've read a lot at this point, where a guy goes to confront another guy for messaging his wife or girlfriend. I don't know what the fuck they are. I only read the first volume, and then he pays that guy's bills when he finds out he's behind on some bills. I've never seen that. That is by. I was like,
oh, and by the way, it's called Stockholm Syndrome, is what MJ went through.
God, man. It's ridiculous.
It really is. And then since we're on this whole cuckboy Paul thing, I stopped reading Amazing Spider-Man because of that. Because I got, like I said, I haven't read comics in forever. Got back into it 3-4 years ago, but I went back and I started reading through.
Did you get? Like, how many issues did you get into for Zeb Wells' run?
I got, I think, about 23 issues in, and I threw my hands in the air. It was before, leading up to Gang War, the lead up to Gang War.
Oh, yeah.
And I threw my hands in the air, and I said, fuck this, I'm out. And then we got Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate Revival. And I was like, okay, Marvel, you earned yourself just a tiny little bit of redemption in my eyes. Just strictly just reading that, and that's it. And I think I actually posted at one of the artists for Ultimate Spider-Man the other day on X, and I told him straight up, because he was promoting issue 14, which is coming out. I told him straight up, I said, your work and you and the creative team on that are doing such a great job. And it's not a perfect series, it's not a perfect book, but it's a hell of a lot better than what Marvel has been putting out in the last decade. And I told this man that. He didn't block me, he didn't hide me or anything. He definitely didn't give me a like or say, "Oh, thanks for the kind words," either, though. So,
oh, you know how that word works now.
Yeah, but it's the truth. I mean, and I get it, because I even tagged Marvel Comics in the damn post, I think. So I get it. He can't really say, "Oh, hey, thanks," because he'd also be acknowledging that Marvel Comics is a shit show. But yeah, outside of Ultimate Spider-Man and the Ultimate Revival with Ultimate Invasion and all that, like, Marvel Comics has been trash. And Zeb Wells writing those first, I think, 49 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, this current volume, is the epitome of what Marvel Comics has turned into. Between that and all the retconning of X-Men with freaking Kamala Khan.
Oh yeah, that recently.
Or Kamala Khan, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like Kamala Khan.
No, I will say Kamala Khan.
Yeah, she's black. Oh gosh. Black.
She's the worst mutant that was never a mutant. The worst.
She must be the most like try hardest character they've tried to like make you care about and love. They try so hard to make you like her, and it's like she's what I always said about her. She's like a ghetto version of Luffy from One Piece. That's all she is. Luffy's whatever
very uninspiring version of Luffy.
Yeah, like literally everything that she is just not like exactly the same, but just the way that they try to push onto people. Luffy's just a better version of what that character is. Like no one likes Kamala Khan, no one cares about her. We're at the point now where they randomly announce that she's gonna die, then kill her off, then announce she's coming back. So that's just
as
like,
a
okay, why are you killing? First of all, why are you announcing that? And second of all, okay, you're announcing that she's gonna be revived in her own miniseries.
Well, because they need to justify. Because they needed to justify a way to say that, oh, well, she's actually a mutant.
Yeah.
She doesn't have these, she doesn't have just these superhuman like abilities because of an artifact or because she was born with them or what. I honestly don't even know her origins, because that's how uninspiring and boring I've always thought the character to be. The only things I know about her are from what I've read in things that she has been featured in, but not her own stories. But it went from that, and they needed to figure out, oh, well, how can we really change this around to get her involved in X-Men and everything? Oh, yeah. We'll kill her and then have her be brought back to life on Krakoa and be all of a sudden a mutant. And then now we're going to go back and we're going to retcon her into all of the biggest and baddest and greatest X-Men stories that were ever written before our dumbasses came into Marvel Comics.
Dude, it's the same thing with like Sam Wilson at this point. They're in the same boat. They keep trying to push Sam Wilson as Captain America. Same with her as Kamala Khan. But they can't even sell ongoing series anymore. Kamala Khan and Sam Wilson Captain America can't get past a 4-issue miniseries because they know that basically after 4 issues, no one cares. Or pretty much just after the second issue, you know? But I'm saying is, why do we keep having this character push? It's obvious no one cares for this, you know?
And the box office has been showing it for Captain Un-American.
Oh, yeah.
Captain Un-American and the giant hemorrhoid. It's what I'm calling the Red Hulk.
Because I don't know if you've seen it, the movie.
I have not seen it. I will check it when it drops on Disney Plus. But just from what I have seen, in terms of, I've seen like some leaked clips from people going to the theaters and stuff like that, and obviously all the trailers and everything. So like I haven't seen the entire thing, but I've seen enough to be able to make a judgment call on it. And it's pretty much in line with what a lot of everybody else is saying. It seems like it doesn't seem like it's necessarily the worst thing in the world. Granted, I haven't seen the whole thing, and I'm interested to watch it. I'm just not gonna go spend my hard-earned money at the movie theater to watch it. I'll wait for it to hit streaming, because we have Disney Plus, but we don't pay for it, so I'll just watch it there. It just he's agile as Spider-Man. He's got Ant-Man's helmet. He's got Captain America's shield. He could somehow take a hit from Red Hulk while holding the shield. Okay, maybe the shield won't break, but motherfucker, you're gonna break into a million damn pieces. how the hell did you not break when he hit you? Even holding the shield. And it's just all that stuff. It's just, I mean, I guess for somebody who's a normie or doesn't know anything about the content and the source material,
Mhm.
okay, it might be go fun to watch. And then you got that whole aspect of they're promoting it as oh, there's a superhero like you too kind of bullshit. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And I get that. But like, that's not how you should be marketing this film. You should be marketing this film as this is the next step forward for Captain America, not the next step forward for Black culture and superhero movies.
Mhm.
Not, oh, this is our next Chadwick Boseman. This is our next Black Panther. No, that is
Yeah.
not how they should have been marketing this. And that they
I was
are.
gonna say, if you've seen the trailers, you've pretty much seen the whole movie. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's why I tell people if you've same thing with M Night Shyamalan's Trap movie that came out in 2024. If you've seen the trailers, you basically saw the entire movie. There's really no surprise, and I do agree with the sentiment. I said the same thing too. It's not like it's the worst MCU movie because I could literally name like 10 worse ones than it. It's just kind of in that middle of pack category. Like it's about as mid as Shang-Chi. I would mid as like Age of Ultron. They're not like super offensive, but there's nothing really glamorous about it either. You know, there's some cool action scenes here and there, but it's like it's just middle of the pack, honestly. Like, because I think Eternals is worse, Love and Thunder is worse, fucking Dark World's worse, Iron Man 3,
God, yeah.
Far From Home, Homecoming. That's middle of the pack for me. It's not that good either.
Those Sony Spider-Man movies, they have a special place in my heart, but really just because Peter Parker has a special place in my heart.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I mean, my fanboy is like, oh, those are like 8s and 9s, when in reality they're like 7s.
Like people talking about useless movies. I don't even know what the fuck Far From Home was useful for. Like, what the hell was that for? You know,
just to set up more of the multiversal nonsense and I think honestly, I think it was Sony's attempt to reboot without knowing how they were going to reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what that was, because after that we haven't had anything since. I mean, yeah, that we had the Venom movies and Madam Web and Craven. If Craven even came out yet, I don't even know at this point, because it's just nobody talks about Craven. And
No,
all the
that
other
was their
stuff
last
that
one.
they've done.
And
No,
then
they did. Yeah, that's right. It did come out. Okay, but it's just,
that's what we
but
got
like
in
none of that
2020.
ever played into the continuity of what they were doing with Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
So
and
it's like
that's what happened in
they did No
2024
Way Home or yeah, it was No Way Home was the last one, right?
for Tom Holland Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man 4
Yeah.
to be dropping next year.
Yeah, so they did No Way Home to kind of set it up as this reset for Sony Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I was on board for it. I'm like, okay, cool, let's go. And maybe we'll meet like Gwen Stacy now, because you know MJ is not really MJ, but they can't have another MJ because there's already an MJ. And whatever, Zendaya, I'm tired of her, and that's all I'll say. But so they set it up to do that, and I'm really excited for it. But now it's just taking so long to do something with that basically fresh foundation that they've tried to create for themselves. And I'm getting to the point where I'm almost throwing my hands up in the air and saying, is it worth the wait? I need to see something out of them. And I get that Sony wants to work with Marvel Studios still, because they've used Tom Holland and their Spider-Man in all these other movies and everything. But I really think that Sony just needs to take a step back and away from Marvel Studios again. I really do. Because, I mean, we got all the other Spider-Man movies that we love, and they weren't perfect, but we got Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. Those have aged like fine wine. Well, at least the first two have. We've got Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man movies. Not a lot of people like them. I loved them. I didn't think they were perfect, but I loved them.
First one was good to me.
Well,
the second one is yikes. It certainly is a movie.
The second one, yeah, I mean, it was disappointing. It was a bit of a hot mess, but it's not like it wasn't recoverable, in my opinion. Like, if they did a third movie, I feel like they could have fixed a lot of the problems that were created in the second movie. My biggest complaint is just really Gwen Stacy dying, not because of Green Goblin. That was really my biggest issue. But because, again, I'm a big fan of the source material and the original stories and everything. Of course. But yeah, it's at a point though where just kind of bring it all back to the beginning of talking about movies and people being kind of fatigued with everything. Like, we don't need original stories, but we need people, if you're going to do something based on something, you need to respect the source material, or you need to put a twist on it that'll keep people entertained and interested and wanting to come back for more. And I'll kind of leave that at that with our movie talk.
Oh no, it's just now we're at a point where they're just making. It's like Sony went down this rabbit hole of like making movies for Spider-Man's villains without Spider-Man. They're like, well, why did people not show up? And it's like, well, you just. I don't even know if they're acting this stupid on purpose or they're just genuinely that retarded. I'm going to take both because I think there's a play at both. No one wants to really watch superhero movies without the favorite superhero in them. Like, yeah, you can kind of get away with it depending on the character, but more often than not, people want to see the villain battle the hero. It's really just a common thing people want to see. Like, keep in mind, a lot of those Spider-Man villains, though he has a great rogues gallery, probably the second best one to Batman. A lot of those characters really can't stand on their own without Spider-Man there because
not really.
Yeah, very few of them can. People are like, well, Venom did it. Well, Venom's one of the few characters that can do it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the only ones that
and because Venom has had his own stories in the comics as well.
Yeah,
Venom went off to become
yeah.
But it all started with Lethal Protector, and then it went on from there. And so Venom has an established source material now at this point to have his own standalone movie or standalone whatever you want to do with him now. Outside of Venom, you don't really have that with any of the other Spider-Man villains. So it's just I don't know. I feel like Sony maybe listened to one too many people over at Marvel. And I think that was part of the problem.
I think they were trying to capitalize on what the MCU had, because remember DC tried and DC pretty much failed at it too. They wanted to kind of get in on that superhero gravy train, but they had started in 2018 and they're like, oh yeah, Venom made so much money. Well, that movie is terrible. That first Venom movie is not good. And they were like, you know what? Since that movie made a lot of money, now if we just do this, freaking hell, they'll all make money. It's like, no.
And you know what? I will say though, it may have not been good, it may have not been great. It was at least entertaining though. And I will take an entertaining film. I will take a film. The action was, even though the CGI was a bit rough, the action was still plentiful. Like, I will take a fun B, and that's what I categorize Venom as. It's a good B movie. And I will take a solid B movie every single day, as opposed to a really big steaming pile of crap AAA multi-$100 million project. Like what Marvel and Star Wars and all these other properties that have gone through this windmill of crap over the last 6, 7, 8 years. And I'd rather take a solid B movie, or maybe even a C movie, something that I could just, a good popcorn flick that I could just sit and laugh at and enjoy, even if it's supposed to be taken seriously. Part of the thing with those movies is that they're trying to take themselves seriously, but at the end of the day, they know they're not going to be taken seriously.
That's the thing too. I think if they kind of lean into the campiness just a little bit like they used to, I think people will get to understand the nature of them, like the atmosphere, because it feels like a lot of these movies sometimes they're coming out and they're trying to be this grandiose thing, and it's like, no, you could just be a fun product. Having just a fun atmosphere is what a lot of people like in certain movies, like those movies you would rent from like Redbox back when people used to do that a lot, I'm fine with B. People got to understand this. B movies are fine. If your movie gets a B, that's pretty good. Honestly, there's a lot of C to F trash out there.
Oh yeah,
I'm totally with B movies. It's just I think average people don't understand that. They're like, well, if I watch a movie, it's got to be A or F, and it's like, guys, that is just a box you are putting on movies that literally it's just that's. The standards of that is ridiculous. It either has to be a masterpiece or it's just complete trash. Well, that's just no way I want to talk about movies. That's just boring as fuck,
I think my rule of thumb for movie viewing going forward is, okay, what was the total budget for this movie? Was it above $150 million? Not including the marketing?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll take a pass on this and come back to it at a later time once other people have seen it. Oh, this was a movie made with a $10 million loan and a couple of kids fresh out of film school. Okay, I'll give this a shot. Let's go see this. I'll probably enjoy myself. I'd rather spend money on that and go see something that may or may not be a steaming pile of garbage, because at least they're going into it not to, obviously to make money, but they're not going into it trying with the mindset of, oh, we spent this massive amount of money, we need to make our money back and then some. Kind of like how Disney and DC and Star Wars, Lucasfilm, all this stuff have, like, what their mindset has been with all these movies. Like, they just need to break even because the budgets are so ridiculously high. I'll take a $10 million budget movie over a $400 million budget movie any day moving forward now,
Yeah.
until I could see something different. And
Or
honestly,
even on like streaming services.
we
Yeah.
saw that a few years ago with Godzilla minus one. That was the
True.
perfect
Yeah.
the perfect case study for you don't need these ridiculous budgets for movies moving
Yeah.
forward.
Or even I try to tell people, try to find B-level movies like that on streaming services. There are actually plenty out there. The issue with streaming services like Netflix, for example, is there's so much there that you, by the time you're scrolling down, you're just gonna settle on a random movie and it's just some
Mhm.
bullshit. Like there are good movies out there. It just takes the average. You're gonna have to just look for them more. But I told you this, it's not every. I would say give or take, it's 60-40. 60% is bad, 40% is good. You have to go and find that 40%. Because I do
Yeah,
believe
for
there's
sure.
given a lot of crap that exists out here. Holy mother of hell.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, what I have found myself doing recently is, besides diving deep into Crunchyroll, so I've been diving deep into Crunchyroll, and also I've been diving into Tubi a little bit lately, and going back and seeing either some original stuff that may be on there, which is kind of falls into that category of like B, C tier kind of stuff, or also just going back and watching older stuff that was again in the same tier, but more people know about because those were a lot more frequently the rule as opposed to the exception. As opposed to nowadays, the rule is big budget A plus titles as opposed to being the exception. So you go back and I'm watching movies from the 80s and the 90s that are just cult classics and very campy, very just popcorn kind of flicks that were super massive and were super successful. And I'm having a better time watching those movies, going back watching them 20 years later, than I am going to the movies or watching something that goes on streaming that was in the movies just 2 months ago.
Oh, I want to ask you this as the final part of the conversation this time around. Because I saw your channel. I was like, this man played the Miles Morales game.
Yes, I did. Yes,
So
I did.
you played it on your PC, right?
No, all my gaming is done on my PlayStation. I don't have a
Okay.
dedicated PC as of yet. I'm working on it. I have parts. I need to buy my parts little by little because I'm not
Oh, no,
paying
it's fine.
$1,200 for a computer up front.
No, what I was going to say was I was going to get a PlayStation 5 very soon. You can stream off of it, right? To like YouTube if you wanted to.
Yeah, but what I actually do is I have a setup here in the corner of my house where I just have the
Mhm.
PlayStation sitting here on the desk, and I have a 24-inch monitor in front of me, and I have a video card, and do it all through OBS.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So if I got a PS5, I could just set it up to stream on YouTube and just hit play on the game. It just goes pretty much if I wanted
Yep.
to.
Yep. Pretty
Okay.
much. You link your YouTube to OBS. You get yourself a video card. You need two HDMI cables. One to
You
go
need a
into
video
the.
card, so an Elgato essentially.
I got some generic one. It was like $20 on Amazon, and
That's
it's.
probably
I
the one
mean,
I got too.
if
Yeah.
you've seen,
I know what you're
yeah,
like.
if you've seen my gaming streams, like people in my chats. I mean, sometimes it depends upon my connection at the time, and sometimes it depends upon the game I'm playing. But for the most part, because I ask the people in my chats when I'm playing, like, "Hey, how is the quality of
Let me
the
look right
visuals?"
now on the replay. Let me see if it
And
came out pretty good.
9 times out of 10, it's like, "Oh, it looks great," and
That's fine.
it's a $20 video card, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, I know which one you got because I was gonna do it off my Switch OLED. I have a Switch OLED I want to stream games off of, and I
Gotcha.
think I got that $20 one where it's an Elgato capture card. It was yeah. So no, I told people this before. I get gaming can be very all over the place now. I fully get
Mhm.
that, but when I was younger and when you got a new game and you got a system for the first time and you were buying so many games for that system, that was just the life, just getting lost into a game for hours and hours and hours and discovering a new thing about it randomly when you were
Oh
playing
yeah.
so much or restarting it from the beginning to do things differently because you felt like you didn't do something right in the initial part of the game, man. So the Insomnia games, did you play the Spider-Man PS4 game, right?
Yes, I did. I played it both originally when it came out on PS4, and then I've played the remaster
When he
that
looked,
came
yeah,
with
when he
the
looked
Miles
different.
Morales, and yeah, they changed the look of Peter. And I'll say a lot of people didn't like the change. I actually liked the change. I thought
Okay.
the original Peter model it wasn't bad, but I just felt this other one, this newer updated one we got for the quote unquote remastered version
Mhm.
was just I don't know, it just looked more like Peter to me, in my own personal opinion.
And you played the Miles Morales one so far. Are you liking it?
It's a fun game. I mean, it plays almost exactly the same. Miles has a
You
couple of
bought it
different things
physical
that
or you just bought it digitally?
I have both because
Okay.
I have PlayStation Plus. So although I have the disc, if I don't want to get the disc out and pop it in my PlayStation, I have PlayStation Plus and it's available through the games catalog on Plus. So I'll just download
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But it's for the most part, it's the same game mechanics. Miles has a couple of different things that he can do that Peter can't. Like he's got camouflage. He can do his Venom Strike ability, which, by the way, hate the name of that. They should call it something else.
Venom Strike.
um, but and then he doesn't have as many gadgets as Peter does because he's younger. He's not as advanced as Peter, not as smart as Peter. He's only a 16-year-old kid, so I understand having less gadgets. But for the most part, it's same gameplay. The story is okay. It's a revenge tale tied into a big corporation is bad, tied into kind of what we were talking about earlier about self-inserts and like, oh well, I'm doing all these bad things, but oh okay, well it's for a good reason, and even then the good reason isn't even a good reason. It's just a good reason in this one person's head. Yeah, so like
So after that
the
game, you're
story
gonna go
is
to.
okay. Like there's times where
We
it
you can
hits.
tell it's definitely a downgrade compared to the Spider-Man
Oh yeah.
PS4. Yeah.
Well, all it's meant to be is really just a holdover game until Spider-Man 2 came out. That's all it was supposed
Have
to
you
be.
played any of Spider-Man 2 yet?
Oh yeah, yeah. I played it last year and I beat it. It's been a while. I actually plan on eventually going back and replaying it on stream. Like
Okay.
Miles Morales and Spider-Man. Any most of the games that I do on stream, I have, if not beaten, I've at least had some exposure and played even at least a little bit in the past. Except for the newest game that I did last night, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii, the new Like a Dragon title. That was the only thing, pretty much out of everything I've streamed so far, that I went
Mhm.
into fresh, and I loved it. But back to the Miles Morales,
Mhm.
it's it's an okay game. If you have PlayStation Plus, definitely download it. If you don't, and it's on sale for like 15-20 bucks, it's definitely worth it. I wouldn't
Mhm.
pay more than 30 for it though. And
Okay.
it's short. I think I completed the campaign. And granted, it was a new game plus, so I kind of breezed through the story. And I didn't do like the side missions and all that
I
stuff.
forgot. Since you have a PS5, I know you play Fortnite, and I know you played Marvel Rivals recently, right?
Yep, yep.
Do you like
I
Marvel Rivals? Do you think it's like you don't think it's like overrated or anything? You think it's generally pretty good?
No, it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you liked OG, if you liked OG Overwatch, you'll like Marvel Rivals.
Okay.
I don't have the time to sit down and play it for hours on end and experiment with all the different characters and their
How dare you?
abilities and whatnot. So hey, sue me. I'm a dad. I have a 9 to 5.
What?
Sue
Nah.
me.
Stop it. Stop being a dad. Just go play games for 8 hours, man. Come on. That's the
No, no,
life.
it's uh, yeah, but like I have found my 2 or 3 characters that I have gotten the hang of and that I like playing as. I'm still crap at the game 8 matches out of 10, but there'll be 1 or 2 matches where I'll just kill it and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm having fun. But no, if you played OG Overwatch, I think you'd have fun with Marvel Rivals. And honestly, dude, if you're free on Mondays, my Monday gaming stream, because I have themes for 2 out of my 3 streams. Monday is multiplayer Monday. So originally it was just online multiplayer games. Then a couple weeks back, I had the idea of, you know what? Let me let the chat jump in and play with me. So people in my chat have been jumping in and playing Marvel Rivals with me. They've been playing Fortnite with me. We even started doing Mario Kart a couple of weeks ago, and it's a lot of fun. Um, and all those games are just they're a lot of fun to play. And especially starting the work week, my mentality is you just want to go into something that you just want to have fun and nothing else. You don't want to have something that's overly serious and doom and gloom of a storyline. You don't want to do anything that's overly competitive and going to frustrate the living hell out of you. You don't want to go in and play freaking Elden Ring on a Monday after a bad first day back at work for the week. So I figured it'd be cool to do multiplayer games for people, and my chat is liking it. Um, and then Saturday, typically, I have superhero Saturday. So that's when I do like Spider-Man. I'm gonna do the Arkham games at some point. I'm gonna do the Guardians of the Galaxy game at some point.
Mhm.
Probably gonna throw Sonic in there, even though
Dragon Age
Sonic is
Veilguard, Concord. Oh wait, Concord doesn't exist. Conquer doesn't exist at all. Oh God. So
I'm out. I'm out.
oh, God. Come on,
No,
man. Just do a Dragon Age Veilguard stream, man. I'll give you $1.
it's not worth it.
Dang it.
It's
Not
not
for
worth it.
$1. Not even for one George Washington. God.
No,
damn.
dude. No, dude. Not even a half of George Washington. But then Saturday we do our superhero games. And then Wednesdays are just kind of I pick up a game, I played it. I did Resident Evil for a few weeks. I'm not into horror titles, but I did it for my chat. They had fun. I'm a big wuss. But then after a few weeks of that, I was like, you know what? I need to not have my blood pressure through the roof after playing a game in the middle of the week. So we're gonna change it up. And then so now we did Yakuza Pirates in Hawaii last
Heard it
night. Or
here
Pirate
first.
Yakuza
You're
in
gonna
Hawaii.
play Assassin's Creed.
No,
Nope. You're not gonna do the
Nope.
new Assassin's Creed game. Come on, man.
no. I don't have the time to play all these different games. All my gaming now is done on my streams. I don't game outside my streams anymore because like that's the thing. Being a parent, being a husband, working a full-time job, and then doing the YouTube stuff. Me personally, my bandwidth is 3 streams a week and putting out 2-3 videos a week. So like people like you and other people out there that have a full-time job and are doing 5, 6, 7 streams a week, putting out 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 videos a week. Like you guys are killing it, and I don't know where the fuck you find the energy or the motivation, but good on you, man. But my bandwidth is like my gaming time is now my gaming streams. That's about it.
Oh no, if it's one of those things where all my extra energy is I don't know where it's at this point. No, I've actually learned to basically kind of space out my energy and not do so much on one days and get my mind into the mindset of like, okay, you can do things on other days. Everything will come in time. No need to kind of rush everything. Like I was thinking today, it's like, man, I want all these different omnibuses for my favorite characters. And it's like, okay, gotta hold on. I can get them when I get paid. It's nothing I need right now. It's fine. You know, I love comic books, as people can see from my background. I did a comic book call today. You know, also moving forward with comic book calls, I'm still going to do them. But my phone app for my camera, for my phone, randomly cuts out sometimes. So I'm going to be doing them in 20-minute parts on each video. And I'm moving forward. So it'll be part 1 and part 2. I know you guys like the comic book calls.
Cool, man.
The reason why I wasn't doing them recently, not because I didn't want to, is because my camera would like randomly cut out, and I was like, I had to edit it together with like text and everything. It's like, okay, I'll just do 20 minutes here, and then I'll cut it, upload to my computer, delete it off my phone, and do the rest of 20 minutes. What I found was a better way. Just letting you guys know that little update right there. But yeah, man, you know, I love gaming. It's just goddamn. Like I haven't had a chance to even play League of Legends. I usually play League of Legends like at least 3 times a week. I haven't got a chance to do that because sometimes my internet will fucking just suck ass. I have a whole new PC that I bought for my birthday last year in December. Haven't had time to just hook it up together, honestly. It's just a brand new PC. It's just in the box still. I literally just put it in, and I just have to just start. The problem, I have to get everything back up from scratch. That's what I'm dreading it. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's like I have everything set up the way I like it right now, and it's like I have to build it all back up like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, you mean in terms of like your settings and everything for
like
your
taskbars,
gaming and all that
passwords. Dude, like the thing is, I have like this channel and my comic book one, and I have my other one I'm going to be putting out content for soon. Then I have another one. I have to make sure I run out all those passwords because the Google ones, I need to have those because I don't want to go through like a bunch of security code bullshit where they have to take a day to send it to you. And you start to sign into your same account, but it's you. It's like,
oh yeah.
I have to make sure when I hook up this PC, everything's already set and good to go because I have to get Photoshop back. I have to put on my video editor back. I have to get my thumbnails and OBS all set up again. It's just a hassle, you know? I have to do it right when I have enough time where I can get it all done in about a day because content I have here is consistently going, you know? So I have to basically have it done pretty much within the day. It has to all be set up back the same way. And it's like, well, I got to probably wait until I'm on vacation to do that, honestly.
Dude, sounds like you need to give yourself a vacation then.
No, that's the part. I can't do that. But, well, last few things I'll ask you before we head out of here, which is
for sure.
First things first. Do you have anything planned coming up for 2025 you want to let the audience know about?
Oh yeah, man. Definitely. Well, considering I only started the channel literally coming into 2025, everything is on the table. We have currently our comic book reading video series, which we call Comics Read Along. And I'm just, all that is I'm not, there's no rhyme or reason to the books that I'm picking. It's just either books that I've read and I like the story of, or stuff that I've always maybe wanted to read and I've just never gotten around to it. So it's a video. I just read that. You could sit and listen, or you could sit and mute my ass and just read the book yourself, whichever you want to do. And then we have my gaming streams that we were talking about. Starting this Saturday, is the first live show that I'm starting myself. And actually, it's before you even reached out to me. I had this idea. Great minds think alike, man. It's basically a similar format to what you and I are doing right here. Just sit, have a conversation. I have some key topics I want to hit on, because the people that I have on, I'm trying to curate a guest list of not necessarily just YouTubers, but like creators, people that have like, I have some comic book creators that are going to be coming on, whether they were artists or writers or whatever. I'm going to have people that maybe they're content creators, but they've done something with their channels other than just like make videos and whatnot. Like what you're doing is great. You're highlighting people that are just doing good stuff similar to you, and you're talking with them, getting them exposure, which, by the way, man, open invite to you coming on the new show at some point in the future, whenever you find yourself some time, maybe when you're on vacation eventually.
Vacation, what is that?
But we got the first episode of that coming up. That's called Talking Shop with ComixDad, because just play into the whole comic book theme of talking shop at the comic shop. And then I have a new monthly series that I'm going to start doing. I don't know if you saw it the other day, indie comic highlight, and I'm just highlighting an independent comic book creator. My first one was Chad Townsend, who actually created this book here that I showed earlier. And I'm going to do that probably once a month, because I just want to go out there and go find like even smaller form than Rippaverse. Like I might highlight a Rippaverse book and highlight either Rippa or one of his writers for one of the other stories. But even smaller than that, like I want to go down to people that are doing their own thing, getting it fully funded on their own, putting it out on their own. Like I want to find some of those people and just do a 15-20 minute video talking about what they do and just put it out there for people to see. I mean, granted, they probably have a bigger reach than I do currently, but it doesn't matter. They might not have somebody seeing their stuff that's seeing my stuff, and every set of eyes on creators is what I want to do, because I'm finding that as I hop back into the indie comic scene, I'm getting a lot of the stories and excitement that I've been wanting over the last few years that I've gotten back into comics, and even stuff that I wanted back in my younger days when I was first reading comics. So that's why I'm doing that. And then, I don't know, man, we're going to do more stuff throughout the year, probably. I might dabble into anime and manga coming up. Like in terms of how I do the comic book readings, I'm thinking about maybe playing with the idea of doing that, but with manga. So who knows, man? Everything is on the table at this point. The channel is still so new. But
hell yeah, man. Glad to see you getting into the grind of it again. You know, now you're just going to take a break now at this point and just go on to a different channel. Your different channel is going to be OnlyFans. There you go.
Oh god, don't no. If I even just the hint of the sound of that site and this one over here, you won't find me breathing. We'll put it that
way. God, man. Well, all you do is feet pics, man. That's all it has to be.
You don't want the.
You're down bad.
You don't want to see these, man. Oh, rough. That's all I gotta say.
So the last thing I'll ask you is, do you have any shout outs you want to give to anyone in particular, and anything else you want to say before we head out?
Oh, well, first and foremost, shout out to you for asking me to come on, man. I appreciate it. It's
man.
Been a lot of fun. Definitely would love to do this again. We could go do it over on my show sometime in the future too, that I'm going to be starting. Shout out to Mrs. ComixDad over here behind me, because she's been my biggest supporter in these last couple of months that I've been doing this stuff. What was that? Word, she says. And then also shout out to my chat if they're watching or either live or on replay. I call them the Comics Crew. So shout out to the Comics Crew as well. And then also just anybody that's interested, go out to rippaverse.com and pick up a copy of Blood Ruth #1. I haven't read it yet, but I will be. And if it's like anything else that I've read from Rippaverse, it should be a blast.
Yeah. Also, I'm gonna get ComixDad to play Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna give him $5 when he gets monetized, and he's gonna play it. There you go, guys. I'm making sucker.
Oh, for $5, but only because it comes from you. That's it.
Okay, I'll just give you $2 at that point then.
Now we got to talk.
Well,
I'll take the 5. I'll take the crisp 5 because you're my pal. Anything less than
you gotta
that,
play
I don't know,
Avowed.
man.
Then you gotta play Dustborn. Oh my god, Dustborn! If you guys seen what that was like actual trash. It's literally a talking simulator of slop from how kids would talk nowadays. If these people think that's how they talk, like you are being a racist bigot to that person. No one says those things. It's just so made up.
It's a game as if these activists were their teenage selves, but with their current mentality as adults. That's it.
Like I said earlier, it's just self-insertion fetish cringe bullshit, man. Oh my god, you are so weird, man. Well, thank you guys for checking out this episode of the MSK Show, and we will